Thanks, friend, for joining us. Going to have a little bit of cup of chaplaincy today, and I want to go to Exodus chapter 17 and 18, and talk about this. I want to ask a question. Who lifts you up? Who holds your ladder? Who turns on your light, gets you going, lifts you up and encourages you? So in the chapter that we're dealing with today, Exodus chapter 17, Moses has to go down the same road he's been to before with the lack of water. And that shows up in the first 7 verses. And he strikes the water with his staff and gets it. And the people want to stone him. He even calls out to God, oh, they want to stone me. So he's not having the best time of leadership just right after coming through the Red Sea. And then in the 8th verse, it switches a little bit to battling the Amalekites. And he says this funny line, I think it's kind of humorous. He says, God told Moses to say to Joshua, choose us some men and go out, fight with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on the top of the hill with the rod of God in my hand. And so these guys that hadn't done any much fighting, they don't know a lot of that. And I can just imagine Joshua just like, okay, you, and you. And he just picks them. I don't know what the qualifications were. So they do that. And then Moses goes up on top of the hill, and he lifts up his staff, lifts up his hands, and they get tired. And when they get tired, the Israelites start losing the battle. And you know the story. Aaron and Hur come alongside, and they put a stone there. He can sit on it. And they lift up his hands, and as long as his hands are up in the air, they win the battle. And this goes to the 15th verse, and it's a classic verse. And Moses built an altar and called its name, "The Lord is my banner." And for he said, because the Lord has sworn, the Lord will have war with Amalek from generation to generation. Well, there's a word there to Joshua as well, who defeated him. And God told him to write all this down in the hearing of Joshua, because God's always getting you ready for what he already has ready for you. And Joshua would become the leader. So this is the first time that Joshua really gets called out, and he has his first major victory. And that is incredible, the way God is just prepping him. And I know God does that for you and for I. And it all goes back to who's holding our ladder. Because we need strength. In the first place you get your strength, the first person that you want holding your ladder is God. So Moses says that people will know that the Lord is my banner. He's what makes this all possible. It's where my strength comes from. The minute you start thinking that you can do something in your own strength, you're setting yourself up to fail. And God is teaching Moses this, to lean on him and to learn to trust him, both for water and when the Amalekites come their way. The Amalekites were like wolves. They were picking off the weak and the trailers in the group, and despicable. So anyway, but the first thing is a leader's strength, and the strength comes from the Lord. And Moses portrays that. When he recognizes when the hands are in the air, God wins the battle. And that's what that's all about. And then there's a second thing that pops up, and I'm going to go kind of fast with this, but every leader needs help. And so I ask the question, the people, who's the people that lifts you up? And the key people in this are Aaron and Hur, when they come alongside and they lift up Moses' hands. And that's what the difference in the battle was. When they came alongside of him, God gave him victory. God gave him help and strength. And so they lift up his hands. So we understand that God is our strength, and our strength comes from him. And we understand that God sends people into our life to help us to lift up our hands. And in this case, he sends Aaron and Hur. Who's the people that lifts you up? Who are the key people in your life that help you along the way, that lift you up in prayer? Who are the people that encourage you when you're having a tough day? Who are the people that take some of the responsibility off your shoulders and help you along the way? The people that make sure that as a leader that you take some necessary time off. Who are the people around you that lift you up? Identify them. Know who they are. You should always know who they are. I don't think Moses, so he couldn't forget Aaron, but I don't think he ever forgot Hur. and knew what they did for him in holding his hands up, and God gave him the victory. We need to know who our support team is, the people that lift you up. What God has done throughout the whole Bible, rarely is somebody doing it alone. They almost always have somebody alongside them. And I like to know people that hold the ladder and encourage you. I remember, and I say this because I remember a guy, and right now he is having a very difficult time with pancreatic cancer. My heart goes out to Johnny Birdsell. And I just take this moment to honor him as a man of God with an even keel and steady as the day is long. I just loved him. And a wonderful wife, Carolyn. I just loved both of them. They served at our church in Soldotna for a number of years and were such a blessing to my wife and I. And they were both of them were two people that would hold up the ladder for us and hold up our hands in the midst of a battle or anything that we were doing ministry-wise. Know the people that hold your hands up. Wise leaders always have good team members around. They don't do it on their own. And so know those and bless them and take note of them. Pray for them. So the people that lift you up. So the God that lifts you up, the people that lifts you up, and then the resources that lift you up. And I take this from the last part of this because it transitions and it goes into the 18th chapter when Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, shows up. He's a cool cat because he can assess things. He's a Midian priest. I don't know what that means. And Moses had sent his family back to him, and they were caretaking kind of the family while the Exodus began. And then Jethro pops in, and he's just really excited about all that God has done in Moses' life. And he gets up the next morning, and he's got all his vigor and everything, and he wants to go see how his son-in-law is doing, wants to just take in everything, and I like that. And so, but when he sees how long Moses has to work to counsel the people, he goes, whoa. He looks in verse 18 of chapter 18, both you and these people who are with you will surely wear yourself out. Because Moses was taking in these people and counseling them and talking to them about what God wanted them to do from morning to night. Can't do that. He said, listen now to my advice. My voice, I will give you counsel, and God will be with you, and stand before God for the people so that you may bring the difficulties to God. And this is what he said in the 21st verse. He says, moreover, you shall select from all the people able men such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of tens. And so he sets them all up, and he makes Moses be resourceful. And this is the third thing, the resources that lift you up. You got to look around you and see, okay, what is the most important thing? I think of the 10 characteristics of a good servant leader, and some of the things Moses was doing. He was listening. That's number one of Greenleaf. Don't read the book. It's really thick and exhaustive. There's some shorter versions of it. But the servant leader is a listener, and he was doing that. And he has empathy, and I think he did that, and provides healing and awareness and persuasion and rather than authority. And conceptualizes things. He dreams big, but looks beyond the day-to-day operations, and he has foresight into what the future is going to look like. And Moses had a lot of that, but he wasn't being a good steward of all the resources. And so Jethro comes along and says, hey, what responsibilities can you give away? And who can you help enjoy the same blessings that you enjoy in some arenas of leadership? I think most leaders enjoy what they do. They like to put their hands into wet clay and begin to mold and to make and to see what God has in store. Part of that's a little bit of stewardship to make your environment a little bit better. And you're committed to growth of people. And if you're committed to growth of people, which is like number 9 of Greenleaf's characteristics of a servant leader, then you want to help them enjoy the same things that you enjoy and get a blessing as well by being in service for the king. And building community, which is the last thing of Greenleaf's 10 characteristics of a servant leader. So I say this to you, that not everybody listening to this is a leader, and you may feel like, well, this isn't really germane to me. But wait a minute, there's two sides to this. There are people that are following, and there are people that are leading. And if you're not leading, you're probably following. But everybody has influence in some degree and in leading in some kind of fashion of your life. There is some leadership that you are probably involved in, but there's also times where we follow. And I'm always concerned that it'd be a good follower as well as a leader. So I say this to you, that if you're following, there are some things that I would like to propose to you in just closing. First of all, for leaders, if you've forgotten where your strength comes from, it's time to reset the compass and figure it out. It's a God thing. God is our banner, as Moses said. He is our strength. And then, are you listening to those around you, or are you resisting them? You've got to be a good listener. I love the fact that Greenleaf starts out with the 10 characteristics, and he says the first one is listening. If you don't get this one, you can't move beyond. And it's very true. The third thing is, are you spending so much time on secondary issues that you are neglecting the primary issue, which is the tyranny of the urgent? In other words, prioritize what are you supposed to be focusing on. And then as a leader, when you get that, you can then say, what can I share? What can I pass around? What can I give to others and allow them to enjoy this part of the ministry? And that's what Jethro does. When Jethro shows up, he makes Moses assess the big picture here and offers an opportunity for others to come along, and makes Moses a better steward of the resources that were in the camp. So God that lifts us up, the people that lifts us up. And that's a smaller but number. It's not huge. And then there is the resources, which might be a bigger body of people, or literally resources. But all of these help you lift your ladder. And if you're not doing anything kingdom-wise, let me encourage you, find a ladder to hold. Find somebody that you can encourage. And if you're not, for instance, if you haven't done it for a while, send a note to your pastor. I really recommend not just an email. Send a card. Go out of your way to go to Hallmark. Don't just watch all the Hallmarks. Go buy a card and write a nice note, and encourage them. And every once in a while, pray for them. Hold up their arms. Encourage the socks off of them, and you'll get a better product back. And so if you're a follower, you can be an encourager, and all of us need to be one. And so I say this to you. Our takeaway is this prayer. Father, I thank you for the opportunity to share with everybody within the sound of my voice. And I pray a blessing on them. I pray, Lord, that we be encouragers. And when we're following, that we be good followers and good encouragers. And when we're leading, Lord, that we'll be good leaders in the eyes of God. Be good stewards of the opportunity to lead people. We pray it in Christ's name. Hey, God bless you. Hope to see you soon. I do pray that you stay safe and as well healthy. God bless you. Bye.